Tonight, a historic flood emergency in Vermont, pushing a major dam to the brink. Water rushing through the streets of the state capital. Cars submerged up to their roofs. People stranded as the water rose, then pulled to safety by boat. A critical river at its second highest level in recorded history. Fears tonight a dam upstream could overflow, sending even more water gushing into homes. And another round of storms now taking aim. The other major weather concern tonight, the brutal heat. More than 60 million people under alert from California to Florida. How soon those sweltering states could see relief, we'll have a full forecast. Also breaking tonight, a member of the murderous Manson family released on parole after serving half a century in prison. What we're hearing about the shocking decision. And fury in Israel, chaos erupting on the streets as thousands of protesters take part in a day of disruption. Police firing water cannons at the crowds, dozens dragged away in handcuffs. Matt Bradley is on the ground in Tel Aviv tonight. Also overseas, a deadly collapse caught on camera. The moment an entire stretch of highway that was under construction came crashing down in Bangkok. Plus, fighting back, a man seen on surveillance video lurking near a Miami apartment complex, arrested for attempted kidnapping. How this 6-year-old girl says she fought him off when he tried to grab her from her porch. And a consumer alert tonight, Amazon's annual Prime Day in full effect, but the e-commerce giant is the most impersonated business in the world. What you need to know to spot those scammers before cashing in on those great deals. Top Story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We begin Top Story tonight with the dual weather emergencies at this hour. The Northeast hammered with torrential rain, unleashing the worst flash flooding in years as millions across the South suffer under brutal triple-digit temperatures. The streets of Vermont's capital city completely inundated after torrential rains dumped inches of rain across New England. Rescue teams going door to door by boat, rescuing more than 100 people across that state. Several families stranded at this hotel after the first floor was submerged. Their only way out, this raft. Fears tonight the already swollen river that runs through the city could overflow with the critical dam upstream on the brink. The rain stopping for now, but expected to pick up again later this week. And from California to Texas, 60 million people under heat alerts tonight. Temperatures once again soaring into the triple digits. Kathy Park will have much more on those dangerous heat temperatures in a minute. But first, NBC's Kristen Dahlgren leads us off from Vermont.
From the air, the scope of the disaster is unmistakable. Vermont's capital city submerged. The Winooski River unstoppable as it swelled to more than 21 feet, its second highest flood level on record, overtopping its banks and stranding hundreds.
Make no mistake, the devastation and flooding we're experiencing across Vermont is historic and catastrophic.
Swiftwater rescue teams from several states performed more than 100 rescues. These people pulled from a downtown hotel. With the first floor underwater, there was no other way to get out.
How quickly did things go bad?
Yeah, really quickly. Yeah, it went from, water at the front of the hotel up to over the cars.
This afternoon, Mayor Jack McCullough getting his first up-close look at the devastation.
Probably worse than I expected. Yeah, it's not good.
The city now under a boil water advisory, and it's not over. Officials closely monitoring a dam about 5 miles upstream, dangerously close to overtopping and sending even more water into Montpelier.
What we're told is that we're within about a foot of that happening, and so that could be very bad if that happens.
Even the police station is flooded. They've had to move operations elsewhere. Communications also a big concern. These guys are headed out now. They're going to take a generator up to the top of a building to make sure that their calls keep coming in.
14 counties in Vermont have now been declared disaster areas.
It's awful. It's atrocious.
So many have had to flee their homes.
I was like, we have to go now. Now. We have to go right now. And so we got our kids and we grabbed our dog and we left.
Some towns are still completely cut off. Air rescues happening where boats and trucks can't get in. In Ludlow, you can see why. The ground completely washed away beneath this train track. Elsewhere, entire houses succumb to the powerful current. Roads and bridges buckled. What is left when the water finally recedes will be a massive and expensive cleanup, something the Hudson Valley knows all too well. Today, still picking up the pieces from the same system. For some, moving on will be infinitely harder. Ed Nugent lost his daughter Pamela in the floodwaters.
She panicked again and she just grabbed the dog, came out here. As soon as she hit the road, the water hit her, just took her down. 2 seconds, she was gone.
Even as the floodwaters begin to recede, the pain may take much longer.
Kristen Dahlgren joins us now from Mount Pelier, Vermont. Kristen, what's the biggest threat there tonight?
Right, Allison. So they are still watching that dam very, very closely. The latest update is that it is holding, but it is at capacity. So not a lot of wiggle room. And there is more rain in the forecast later this week. The ground here is saturated. The rivers are rushing like this. So there wouldn't be a lot of places for that water to go, Allison.
Kristen Dahlgren in Vermont, thank you. And as the Northeast is reeling from those powerful floods, the relentless heat wave slamming the South and Southwest is showing no signs of cooling. Kathy Park has the latest on those stifling temperatures.
Tonight, the brutal heat building across the country, turning typical hotspots even hotter. Vegas baking at 117, Phoenix a sweltering 109, and Death Valley could hit 130 degrees by this weekend.
So this pattern's been a little bit stuck.
Meanwhile, Miami reaching its 30th consecutive day with a heat index in the triple digits.
The humidity is what kills you.
For roofers here, there's no escaping the elements.
I usually wet my wrist, my neck. Those are the cool down areas for me. That works for me.
The Miami-Dade County mayor telling us the chief heat officer is zeroing in on these extreme conditions.
They're really understanding that this is serious, that it's here to stay, and that we all have to adapt and protect.
And it's not just soaring temperatures. Florida is literally in hot water. Thanks to a marine heat wave, water temperatures in some spots off the coast are in the mid to upper 90s. That's 5 to 10 degrees above average. And fueling all this is a stagnant and stifling weather pattern. Later this week, the Sunshine State will be baking under a Saharan dust cloud blowing in from Africa.
It's about a mile above our heads when it comes, but it really stifles the thunderstorms when they come, when those arrive, and it makes for some very hot days in places like South Florida.
Just 3 weeks into summer and already smashing multiple heat records across the globe. The extreme heat can also take a toll on your health. Experts say when the heat index is 105 degrees or higher, you're at greater risk for heat exhaustion or heat stroke. The young, elderly, and those with pre-existing conditions should be extra cautious. Allison?
Kathy Park in Miami. Thank you for that. NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking the severe weather threat and that heat taking hold from coast to coast. Bill, is this here for the long go?
Yeah, this heat, we're going to be talking about this right through the end of next week, and it's actually going to get worse in many cases before it gets better. The river flooding is also receding in many areas in Vermont, too. By tomorrow, all the rivers will be back within their banks, so that's good. A recovery effort can begin. So let's just get into the heat, because this is going to be the huge story in the days ahead. 70 million people are under heat advisories or watches or warnings right now. That's roughly about 1 in every 5 people in America is under these. And they go from South Florida. Now we've added Memphis and Little Rock, and then we're pushing all of this way to the West Coast. So who's the hottest right now at this hour? It's 109 in Phoenix. And by the way, Phoenix did hit 110 degrees today. That keeps your streak going of 12 in a row, and your record is 118 with 110. You're easily going to beat that. You're going to break that record. And by the way, El Paso, 104 today, at least. And you're now like 28 days in a row being over 100 degrees. So the extreme heat, as we go towards tomorrow, another day above 110 for Phoenix. Vegas, you're going to start getting into the act. And look at Palm Springs jumping all the way up to 114. So the heat over the end of this week into the weekend really settles here over the Southwest. That's where the temperatures will really jump. California's going to warm up, the exception being the coastal areas. You won't hear a lot in San Francisco or Los Angeles. It's going to be interior California. But look at this weekend. Sunday, I have my eyes on you in Vegas. 116 degrees. The hottest temperature you've ever recorded was 117. You're going to be close to that this weekend. So just we're going to be talking records in heat, Allison, for at least the next 10 days in a row. I feel for everyone in the southern half of the country. It's going to be a rough go of it.
Wow. Check on your neighbors if you live in that area. All right. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Next tonight, the desperate manhunt for the escaped prisoner and suspected murderer in Pennsylvania. Officials, they are saying a number of sightings have been reported of Michael Burham, but none of those leads have panned out as the investigation now involves more than 200 law enforcement officials. Let's bring in NBC's Ron Allen in Youngsville, Pennsylvania. Ron, you have been following this for days now. What more did we learn today from police officials?
Well, the search seems to be expanding, and it seems to be intensifying. That's what authorities are saying. There are now 200 officers from federal, state, local departments who are on the hunt for this individual. They say that they've been getting tips and calls from the public, initially from the states of Pennsylvania and New York. We're along that border. But lately, there have been calls from 4 states. They won't say what those 4 states are, but they say that they're getting calls, tips, possible sightings of the suspect at places where there's been vandalism or break-ins. And the bottom line, though, police say, is that they have not been able to confirm and associate or connect him to any of these places, any of these sightings. So they really still don't know exactly where he is. At least that's what they're saying, because we know they're being very judicious with their information because they don't want to give him any sense of what they're doing. He's from this area. He has family. He has friends. Authorities again today said that they believe that he is still getting some help while he's out there on the run, not just the initial help that they reported him supposedly getting when they ran across campsites and supplies that were helping him stockpiled. They said today that he's still getting some kind of help, they fear. So again, a warning to the public not to approach this individual. He's still considered armed, extremely dangerous, perhaps getting increasingly desperate as the days go on. Ellison?
And Ron, I mean, this was an incredibly daring escape, right? He used bed sheets to make a rope. What else are we learning about the timeline of when and how he went missing?
There were a lot of questions about how could he do this. Supposedly, as we understand it, there was surveillance video of what he was doing in that area of the prison, of the jail, the rec area where he got up on a piece of exercise equipment, got onto the roof, and then used the bed sheets to lower himself down, we understand. So how could that happen and then him get away? The sheriff was asked about that, and he said that the response was immediate. Within a minute or two of him getting away, getting down from the roof, the response was there, he said. I asked him specifically, did the officers actually spot him leaving, spot the suspect leaving? And he said that no, they didn't, because of the confusion, because of whatever was going on. His escape route was concealed, whatever, not in a lot of detail. But the bottom line is they didn't see which way he went, and there he went, and there he goes. And now we're 5 days later, and there's still no definitive word about his whereabouts, still no definitive word about whether they're close to catching this individual. Again, just warning the public to be mindful, to be careful while this manhunt goes on.
All right, Ron Allen in Pennsylvania, thank you. Now we head overseas. The massive protest intensifying in Israel at this hour. Thousands of demonstrators outraged over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's power play against the country's judiciary. Police are unleashing now water cannons on the crowds, throwing protesters to the ground. The desperate pleas tonight for President Biden to step in and help. Matt Bradley is on the ground for us in Tel Aviv.
Tonight, turmoil in Israel. Thousands of protesters taking to the streets, calling it the day of disruption. And they're determined to do just that, blocking roads and highways, the police turning water cannons on the crowds. Demonstrators clashing with authorities, more than 60 arrests reported. In Haifa, this news photographer thrown to the ground by police. And for those arriving at Tel Aviv's airport today, this was the welcome party. An estimated 10,000 people creating a sea of white and blue Israeli flags. The protesters furious over their government's plans to revamp the nation's judiciary that would effectively sideline Israel's judges. That just passed a key test. The nation's parliament, called the Knesset, granting initial approval to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan. Opponents of the Prime Minister say this is a fight for the future of Israel, a standoff between democracy and dictatorship.
I'm here today today because we need to protect Israeli democracy. At the end of the day, we're standing up for Israeli democracy, which the new government is trying to destroy.
Today's massive demonstration started this morning. But civil unrest has been raging since late last year, when Netanyahu first proposed his judicial reform law, which critics say allow him to run roughshod over checks and balances the judiciary was designed to provide. Netanyahu telling his people court independence and civil rights in Israel will not be harmed in any way. The court will continue to oversee the legality of government action and appointments. But opponents say Netanyahu wants to neuter the courts and keep them from blocking his far-right agenda.
They are eliminating the checks and balances. That's what they're doing.
Netanyahu's move to limit the judiciary comes as he's facing corruption charges. This might seem like an insular Israeli issue, but these protesters are turning to America and Joe Biden for help.
We need help from the ambassador, from the government of U.S.
Why are you here in front of the U.S. Embassy, of all places?
For many years, the U.S. protected Israel from the external threats, and this is a moment where the U.S. can play a role in helping Israel from some internal threats.
So far, President Biden has been critical of Netanyahu's bill.
Like many strong supporters of Israel, I'm very concerned. And I'm concerned that they get this straight. They cannot continue down this road.
But tonight, there's a palpable fear here that Israel's very democracy is in real jeopardy and a real desire for America to do more.
Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv. Matt, as you mentioned in your report, this is just an initial approval that the Israeli legislature gave to Netanyahu's judicial overhaul plan. What are the next steps, and when could this actually be implemented?
Yeah, well, Ellison, without boring you with the nitty-gritty details, there are two more hurdles similar to the one that Netanyahu's legislation passed last night that really have to happen before this bill in its full form becomes law. Now, Netanyahu and his supporters are hoping that this happens within the next 2 weeks before the end of the month, and that's when the Israeli parliament, called the Knesset, goes on summer holiday. So there is hope by Netanyahu and his supporters that that will happen. If it doesn't, there's a possibility that it could still happen later, but that would mean that there is some flagging support. Now, Netanyahu and his allies have a majority in the Knesset, so it looks as though they will be able to get this through. Ellison?
And Matt, you were right in the middle of those protests today, talking to people, moving along with them. How committed are they? Could things potentially escalate?
I mean, the exuberance was palpable. You could really feel the anger and the fear. People were saying, we are deeply, deeply afraid, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. But, you know, Ellison, this really goes beyond kind of the nitty-gritty, the detailed stuff that I was just talking about, the finer points of judicial law. This is really about a clash of sort of mentality, of outlook here in Israel. We're seeing a pitting of two sides against each other. The more sort of urbane, left liberal, more urban dwellers here in Tel Aviv who are fighting against a cultural divide, against those in Jerusalem, those in the settlements, who really have a very, very different outlook and a different vision for the future of Israel. So that's why, much more so than the fineries of judicial politics that are going on here, it really is about culture and about fighting for the future of this country and where they see this country going from their own vision. Ellison?
Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv, thank you. Staying overseas to that high-stakes NATO summit, the leaders in NATO making a major statement today on whether Ukraine will be let into the international alliance. This as President Zelensky criticizes the way all of it is being handled. NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us now from Vilnius, Lithuania. Peter, NATO did not go as far as Ukraine was looking for today, right?
Yeah, Ellison, you're right. That joint statement, what they call the communique here from the leaders, including the U.S., says that Ukraine will be invited to join NATO, quote, when allies agree and conditions are met. Among those conditions, more democratic reforms. But that's not at all what Ukrainian President Zelensky had been demanding. And it reveals lingering divisions within NATO, with the U.S. and Germany among those blocking Ukraine from joining the alliance now, where all NATO members, of course, need to be in agreement. Earlier today, Zelensky made those frustrations clear, calling NATO's position absurd. He is going to meet face-to-face with President Biden here tomorrow. So the White House is already touting this summit at large as a success, with Turkey's president dropping his opposition to Sweden's bid to join NATO. Another example, President Biden's advisors say, Ellison, that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has backfired.
And Peter, that meeting you mentioned between President Biden and President Zelensky happening tomorrow, we only know about that because of your reporting. What should viewers be watching for in that discussion?
Well, it is the third time that we're going to see President Biden and Zelensky together, meeting face to face this year. First one was when President Biden, you'll remember, went to Ukraine, the second in Japan, and now here at the NATO summit. It is a real pressure point between these two. Volodymyr Zelensky making clear those frustrations, as we said, with the West, with NATO. Later, though, here in Lithuania, he did sort of backpedal a little bit, expressing his faith in Ukraine's NATO partners, and I think that language did sort of simmer down some of the tensions here. Nonetheless, this is a real significant moment as Ukraine is asking for more, and they need, among other things, more help now. And what they really want in the form of help is that real commitment that the U.S. and its allies will invite them into NATO. Allison.
Peter Alexander in Lithuania, thank you. Staying on Ukraine now, a month into their counteroffensive against Russia, many Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines are facing devastating injuries. But volunteer medics, some of them baristas and interior designers, are banding together to save lives on the battlefield. Kelly Kobiea reminds us of war's devastating toll.
This is the brutal reality of life on the front line. Soldiers under constant fire, patching up shrapnel wounds, at times tying their own tourniquets as they try to break through Russian defenses, clearing a maze of Russian trenches. This video posted 3 days ago of fighting near Bakhmut in the east, according to the Ukrainian military, where they say they're gaining ground. Soldiers who survived these frontline battles say the same thing. It's difficult to break through Russian defenses because they fortified them well. They were preparing for a year, 22-year-old Dmitro says. Shrapnel pierced his stomach, arm, and leg when his unit stormed Russian positions 2 weeks ago. 2 friends died. 43-year-old Volodymyr told me his unit liberated a village and crossed more than a mile into Russian-controlled territory.
How difficult is it to get through those defensive lines?
The most difficult thing is to move forward without communications. The Russians are jamming signals, and you're under constant fire by tanks, mortars, helicopters. He told me the most difficult thing was watching fellow soldiers being killed because, he said, we don't have the right resources to fight the Russians.
What kinds of injuries are you seeing among the soldiers who are coming back from the front lines?
Injuries from mines and explosive trauma is most common, this doctor told me. On the battlefield, even medics are in short supply. When asked which battalion this medic is from as he treats a wounded soldier, he says none. He's a hospitaler, part of a volunteer force of more than 300 combat-trained medics from all walks of life, an interior designer, a youth mentor, a web designer, all helping to treat and evacuate Ukraine's soldiers, ordinary people taking extraordinary risks. Tanya works on the front line. It's quite dangerous because we're very close to the Russian positions, she tells me, staging and sleeping just a mile away. She's had a few close calls. This was her team's transport vehicle. They don't have enough armored cars to use on every trip. Pavlo, a web designer, is on his first rotation with the hospitalers, working on this massive retrofitted bus, moving the wounded from hospitals near the front line to major medical centers in the nearest city.
What has it been like?
11 runs, 130 casualties. Yeah, it was busy.
The teams spend 2 weeks on call 24/7. On this day, they're changing over, the new team getting a quick run-through on the bus. A few short hours later, the real thing. 10 wounded soldiers, some with devastating injuries, in need of evacuation. This man lost his foot. Another has shrapnel wounds to the chest. The team does their best to make the patients comfortable before the bumpy, hours-long drive to a main city. The medics say the faces and stories of the wounded stay with them. For Pavlo, it's a 19-year-old patient who lost limbs.
Considering the amount of traumas, like the percentage of his body affected, he was so strong and brave that I just can't forget, and I'm just thinking like how young he is, and he was a volunteer.
Do you worry about getting hurt? Do you think about your own life?
Of course, I understand something may happen to me, but Tanya told me, if everybody is afraid to be killed, then who would defend Ukraine? Who would save lives? That's my choice, and I understand that one day I may not wake up.
And Kelly Kobiea joins us now from Kyiv, Ukraine. Kelly, the stories of those volunteering on the front lines are just so incredible. That one woman you spoke to saying, if everyone is afraid to be killed, who would save lives? What else can you tell us about the people you met, more of their stories?
Well, there's just such a broad cross-section. We met a young barista who said that she was on the waiting list to join the group since last year. We met a former pharmaceutical executive who said he quit his job, got into trauma medicine, into training, and then joined the group. And this interior designer in his 20s who said he didn't know very much about medicine. He really just wanted to do his part in the war effort. This group was started back in 2014 when Russia first invaded Ukraine, and it's become so well respected that there is a waiting list for months to join. Allison.
Kelly Kobiea in Ukraine, thank you for that. Still ahead tonight, that breaking news. A member of the Manson family released on parole. Leslie Van Houten freed from prison decades after she was convicted in the brutal LaBianca murders. The details just coming in. Plus, a standoff at a popular casino in Las Vegas. A man armed with a gun holding a woman hostage, what we're hearing from police, and fighting off a kidnapper, how this 6-year-old little girl freed herself from a man trying to take her off of her porch. Stay with us. We're back now with the controversial parole of a former Manson family member. Leslie Van Houten released today after more than 50 years behind bars for her role in the infamous 1969 murders. The 73-year-old now out on parole despite pushback from the victims' families and the state's governor. At just 19, Leslie Van Houten, the youngest follower of Charles Manson, involved in one of Los Angeles' most notorious murders. Now, after more than 5 decades in prison, officials say Van Houten, at 73 years old, has been released on parole. Her freedom coming after California Governor Gavin Newsom, who'd previously blocked parole efforts, announced on Friday he would not challenge her release in the state Supreme Court. Van Houten, who was born in the Los Angeles suburb of Altadena, was not involved in the August 1969 murders of actress Sharon Tate, the pregnant wife of film director Roman Polanski, and 4 others. But the very next day, she joined the Manson clan in the brutal killing of wealthy grocery store owner Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary in their L.A. home. Van Houten testifying she stabbed Rosemary at least 14 times.
Well, I hope that it will be a lesson to them that you just can't go into a person's house, you know, and butcher them up. I didn't even use the word murder. I said butchered them up. I mean, we have to protect our homes, and I hope that this is the beginning.
She was eventually sentenced to life in prison along with the other Manson family followers after California outlawed capital punishment. Van Houten was recommended for parole 5 different times since 2016, but all of those efforts were rejected by both Governor Newsom and former Governor Jerry Brown. She is the first Manson family member convicted in the Tate LaBianca murders to be paroled. The rest are either still behind bars or have died, including Charles Manson himself, who died at a California hospital in 2017 while serving a life sentence. We have not yet heard from the victims' families, but in the past, they tried to fight Van Houten's release. Now to a brave young girl escaping an abduction in Miami. The suspect arrested and charged for trying to take the girl from a staircase outside of her home, but he messed with the wrong child. Our Maya Eaglin has the details.
A courageous 6-year-old girl with a big bite. 6-year-old Allyric was sitting outside her Miami apartment by herself when police say this man grabbed her and tried to pull her into an SUV. Allyric telling NBC South Florida that's when she fought back.
I bit him right here.
On his arm? How hard did you bite him?
Real hard.
After the bite, the man eventually gave up.
And then he threw me on the floor, started running back to his car and left.
Police say the 6-year-old and her siblings noticed a white SUV parked nearby earlier.
I already know because we never seen no white and black car.
After reviewing surveillance camera footage, authorities spotting a man and the car matching the description lurking around the apartment building before the attempted abduction and then fleeing. Using street cameras and a license plate reader, police tracking down and arresting 33-year-old Leonardo Venegas, according to an official police press release. He was arrested without bond on kidnapping and child abuse charges.
Just protect your kids and look over them. Keep a close eye on them because anything can happen in the blink of an eye.
Allyric's mother grateful her daughter's safe and proud of her bravery.
You know, some kids can't think quick like that, but I'm glad that she thought like that.
While Allyric is safe, police say there might be additional victims out there. They're asking anyone with additional tips or information to come forward by contacting the Miami Police Robbery Unit. Elson?
Maya Eaglin, thank you. When we come back, allegations of racial bias at a renowned Los Angeles hospital. Cedars-Sinai now the focus of a federal investigation over claims the staff mistreated black mothers, the heartbreaking case that led to this action. Back now with Top Stories news feed. Pro surfer Michaela Jones has died. The Hawaii native who was known for his GoPro footage inside barrel waves died while surfing off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. His father says the fin on the board cut his femoral artery. Jones was just 44 years old. A man is in custody after an hours-long hostage situation at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. Officials were called to the scene after an armed man pulled a woman into a hotel room around 9:15 this morning. That man later broke a window and began throwing various objects, including furniture, outside. SWAT finally made it inside the hotel room late this afternoon and took the suspect into custody. Police say the woman was not seriously hurt. A historic Pennsylvania farmers market has been partially destroyed following a fire. Video shows the Harrisburg market engulfed in flames, part of the brick structure now gone. According to fire officials, the fast-moving blaze started after an electrical malfunction in the building's ceiling fan. Luckily, no one was hurt. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says the building will be rebuilt. And Britney Spears has announced the release of her highly anticipated memoir. Britney making that announcement on social media, saying that the book, titled The Woman in Me, will be released on October 24th. Spears signed the $15 million deal back in February, just a few months after her conservatorship ended. It will reportedly cover her life, career, as well as her high-profile relationships. We turn now to a civil rights investigation looking into black maternal health. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center is facing allegations of racism and discrimination sparked by the family of Kira Johnson, a former patient of that facility who died after giving birth at the hospital. Her husband alleging she was not provided adequate care because of the color of her skin. Valerie Castro has the details.
Tonight, the LA Times reporting a California hospital is facing a federal civil rights investigation for the way it treats black women giving birth there.
My wife would be here with her boys if it wasn't for the color of her skin.
The death of 39-year-old Kira Johnson initiating the scrutiny after her husband filed a civil rights lawsuit against Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. It was later settled. Kira and her husband Charles, already parents to one son, a picture-perfect family, when she died after a scheduled C-section delivery of their second child in 2016.
After allowing my wife to bleed and suffer needlessly, while my family and myself begged and pleaded for them to simply just treat her with dignity and respect.
The case bolstered by this video deposition from Angelique Washington, a former surgical technician at Cedars-Sinai who was in Kira's operating room.
The room started to look like a murder scene, a crime scene. It started blood everywhere. I knew it didn't feel good.
The LA Times reporting on the investigation after reviewing a letter sent to Kira's husband Charles from the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, stating the department is reviewing the allegations. NBC News also obtaining the letter that says in part the HHS Office of Civil Rights, quote, is aware of allegations that Black women are provided a standard of care below what is provided to other women who are not Black when receiving health care services related to labor and delivery. HHS confirming the investigation to the LA Times. NBC News has not heard back from the department. The CDC says in 2021, the maternal mortality rate for Black women was 69.9 deaths per 100,000 live births. That's 2.6 times the rate for white women.
It has to do with racism in society, racism in healthcare, bias amongst healthcare professionals. So we're seeing a disproportionate number of deaths.
A Cedars-Sinai spokesperson declining to comment on the investigation, but telling NBC News Cedars-Sinai clinicians, leaders, and researchers have long been concerned with national disparities in Black maternal health, and we are proud of the work we've done and continue to do to address these issues. Kira's husband also filing a lawsuit against her doctor for gross negligence, receiving a $1 million settlement, and filing an additional suit against the hospital that was also settled. Johnson vowing that the pain his family has endured will shed light on the devastating consequences.
Kira's legacy will be that this is no longer allowed to happen anyplace.
And Valerie Castro joins us now in studio. Valerie, the statistics alone should be enough to make us all stop and think about this. But seeing Kira, her family, the life she had, and knowing she is no longer here, that's a gut punch. Were you able to speak with her husband tonight?
Allison, it's a devastating story, but her husband, Charles, says he is happy that this issue is now being taken seriously. He says after he came forward with the story of what happened to Kira and their family, he heard from other families who experienced similar tragedies. He said he hopes this investigation leads to change not only at Cedars-Sinai, but other hospitals and other healthcare systems across the country.
Valerie Castro, thank you so much for that important report. We appreciate it. Next tonight, for the first time in 20 years, mosquitoes are transmitting malaria right here in the U.S. Just in the past few weeks, a total of 7 people have been infected in Florida and Texas. NBC's Priscilla Thompson has the latest.
In California, this drone is on the defensive. In Florida, trucks are on the hunt. All of it in a battle with the tiniest but most serious of threats, mosquitoes, which for the first time in 20 years are responsible for locally transmitted malaria spreading in parts of the U.S. 6 cases in Florida and 1 in Texas near the Mexico border.
What went through your mind when you heard that?
It is unprecedented.
Max Vigilant is the director of the Mosquito Control Division in Harris County, Texas, preparing for what may come his way.
This trap has collected for us on average 35 different species of mosquitoes.
He's responsible for collecting and testing thousands of mosquito samples across Houston.
Is climate change playing a role here?
It is a major factor. We have the water, we have the temperature, we have the humidity. We're looking at movement of mosquitoes from areas that normally you would not see so many mosquitoes.
In Sarasota County, Florida, Dr. Manuel Gordillo treated 4 patients with malaria.
It can be difficult to diagnose.
He says the incubation period for malaria could be anywhere from a week to several months.
There may be people that are infected now with low-grade symptoms or no symptoms that will manifest the disease at a later point.
County officials are urging people not to go outside at night when mosquitoes are most active and to wear repellent. Experts say only buy EPA-approved mosquito repellent. Read the label for how often to reapply, and be sure to put it on both exposed skin and your clothes. Important precautions as the risk for mosquito season will remain for months. Priscilla Thompson, NBC News, Houston.
Turning now to the Americas and the severe drought that's hitting Uruguay, forcing the South American country into a state of emergency. Residents there desperate for water, with rain levels reaching the lowest levels in decades. The government now doing anything they can to get water to families, but some are raising concerns over the drinking water they're getting at home. Guad Venegas has more.
Tonight, Uruguay is suffering its worst drought in decades. This reservoir is a major water source for the capital, Montevideo. The water levels are so low, it's become unrecognizable.
A donde te llega la vista, llegaba
el espejo de agua.
This local saying the water used to cover everything in sight as he stood surrounded by weeds and cracked dirt.
Es horrible, es horrible, horrible, horrible.
The reservoir at Uruguay's largest dam, today only using less than 2% capacity.
Hubo que mezclar el agua dulce que venía de la cuenca alta con el agua con bastante sodio y salubridad que venía de abajo.
The record drought and low rainfall has forced water officials to declare an emergency and use water from a saltier supply for the nearby 1.8 million people in the capital region. Residents there who used to drink safely from the tap forced to buy water bottles to avoid what they say is foul-tasting water.
El malestar que te causa.
This woman saying the water upsets her stomach and gives her headaches. Health officials have denied widespread negative health claims caused by the water. The government now distributing drinking water to the most vulnerable and exempting taxes on bottled water while promising a new reservoir. The drought and foul-tasting tap water also inciting protests in the nation, which has the highest GDP per capita in South America, according to the International Monetary Fund, and was the first country in the world to declare access to water a constitutional right. Some critics blaming the agribusiness and developers for the current situation. The Guardian reporting that locals are also growing angry with a plan to build a Google data center in Uruguay that will reportedly use 2 million gallons a day to cool down servers. A Google spokesperson telling NBC News in part, quote, "The Uruguay data center project is still in the exploratory phase. As potential planning and design continues, we expect preliminary numbers to undergo adjustments." For now, residents continue stocking up on water, waiting out their only hope, new rain.
Guad Venegas joins us now from Miami. Guad, who is still drinking this tap water? If it's as bad as some locals say, why would people still be drinking it?
Well, Ellison, the government assures the public that the water is still suitable for consumption for most healthy individuals. Now, they are providing bottled water for 500,000 people in the Montevideo area, 2 liters per person, but they have caution for women who are pregnant, children under 2, and those with specific health conditions not to drink that water. Ellison.
Guad Venegas, thank you. Coming up next, the deadly collapse overseas. The moment an elevated highway came crashing to the ground, captured on camera. What crews were doing on that road at the time of the disaster. Turning now to top stories Global Watch and the deadly road collapse in Thailand. Dramatic new footage shows the moment that elevated road came crashing down in Bangkok. At least 2 people were killed and more than a dozen people hurt. The road was under construction at the time of the accident. New video shows a volcano erupting just 37 miles away from Iceland's capital. You can see lava spewing out of volcanic fissures, sending toxic gas into the air. The explosion is not expected to affect densely populated areas or the airport, which is fairly close nearby. However, officials are still warning anyone near the capital city, Reykjavik, to shut their windows. Scientists had warned of possible eruptions after hundreds of minor earthquakes were detected in recent weeks. South African Olympian Caster Semenya has won her appeal against testosterone rules in professional sports. The European Court of Human Rights ruling that such limits imposed on female athletes infringe on their human rights. The landmark 4-3 decision comes after 2 failed cases in other courts. It will likely take years for it to officially be dropped, meaning Semenya will have to wait and see if she'll be allowed to compete as a middle distance runner in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Today marks the beginning of Prime Day. That's the day Amazon Prime members get access to deals on all sorts of items, from tech items, home items, and a whole lot more. But it's not just Amazon that has savings for consumers. And as shoppers get ready to take advantage of all of those deals, it is important to also be vigilant for potential scams. Let's bring in Bridget Carey, a senior editor at CNET.com. Bridget, tell us more about the deals we're seeing on Prime this year, Amazon Prime Day. How does it compare to years past?
It feels like there's an avalanche of deals to comb through, and it changes every year. In fact, this year, Amazon is adding travel deals by working with Priceline. So there's always something going on. And it's not just the big TVs, but everyone likes to talk about the big TVs on sale.
So what are the best deals you've seen out there? Like, I put a Apple Watch in my cart this morning, and then I was like, wait, pause. Is this really a good deal? What are some of the good deals?
It is a good time to buy tech because you don't often see Apple products go on sale. This is like, Black Friday in the summer, right? So I would say the biggest deals, the biggest discounts, surprise, surprise, end up being Amazon products. So Amazon wants to sell its tech. But there's other tech also on sale. It's a good time to shop for back to school. Laptops are on sale. Think about things you need already. And another thing people don't think about is household items. So yeah, you're going to get some cool kitchen gadgets, sure, but also everyday things like a bunch of batteries in bulk and discount. I've seen 100 batteries for like, $25. So things you need anyways. You have to go around and see, well, what can I get for cheap no matter what? But it's also there's clothing, there's toys. What birthdays do you have coming up? It runs the gamut.
Yeah, I have to shout my mother out on this because Cheryl Barber was very good in my childhood at looking for deals early on toys and then saving it, because if you have kids, you never know when someone's going to have a random birthday party. If now has a window to get toys, it seems like there's a lot, right?
Absolutely. I mean, right now there's even like Barbies like half off. So some of the deals are pretty substantial. But when it comes, though, to Prime Day, everyone kind of focuses, though, on tech being some of the biggest deals.
Is it all Amazon or bust today, or should people also be looking at other retailers to try and find better deals?
Oh, no, this is something that is everywhere. Like what Amazon has done is made every competitor now offer a sale this week, so you can find deals everywhere. Target, Best Buy, Walmart, everyone's also pushing their own membership services because, of course, Amazon wants Prime Day to be about buying a Prime membership. They're offering the sales to people who have that membership. So Walmart's also doing this with Walmart Plus. You see Best Buy also pushing its membership. You don't have to be a membership owner of all these different things, though, to get deals. I would stress to people, don't really worry about being a member of all these different types of stores and their programs, because sales are everywhere. My inbox is flooded right now with deals from all sorts of places offering free shipping or other major discounts. It's almost like when Amazon started. Now everyone is kind of like in this pool of giving you a sale right now.
Okay, so if people are looking at the deals, and I think we can show some on screen of some that we're seeing there. Kindle, usually $169, $105. The Apple Watch, this is what I've been eyeing, $399 to $279. That is a lot. Samsung Galaxy watches, $279 to what, $159? If you are someone that's saying, okay, I want to get one of these three, I've been looking, waiting, do you just bite the bullet, go ahead, buy it if it's in your Amazon cart, or should you go to these other websites and double check their prices first?
I think it's a good idea to just kind of go with it, because everyone's kind of watching these really big tech items and they're kind of all price honoring each other. Like, for example, if you go to Best Buy, if you actually go in a store, Best Buy will honor the price it has on Amazon. If you're at the cashier and you're ready, you can just go, hey, Amazon has it for this much. So be prepared when you're at the cashier for these other stores. But for the most part, do a little Googling. Take the 5 seconds, see what everyone else is selling it at. Because it's hard to know if a deal is really a deal if you're not buying these things every day.
Let's talk about briefly the possibility of scams. I mean, how do people watch out to make sure?
Well, I think we'll have to take a breath and not go so fast, because some of this whole, get a deal now quickly, momentum makes you not think it through. Look to see if a deal seems too good to be true. Do a little searching, pause. You might get things in your inbox right now that say your Amazon order needs to be confirmed, or your Best Buy delivery was missed. Click here. So just take a second to go, okay, is that, really an order I made? You should not be clicking things in your inbox. And, unless Amazon won't send you a communication that way, they'll send it through Amazon.
Good advice all year round. Bridget Carey, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you at home so much for watching Top Story tonight. For Tom Llamas, I'm Ellison Barber in New York. Stay right there. More News Now is on the way.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.